Welcome everybody. Salut. This is the Crypto Kid TV, and today we discuss Fox Business News. Bitcoin is the king of crypto. But before we get started, you know what we got to do, man. We got to hit you. We got to hit you, man, with that. Let's see here. Now I've lost it again. Oh, I have too many. This is what happens when you have too many tabs open, everybody. So I need to close some tabs here. I just simply need to close some tabs. And we're going to get this party started. So let's first start by, no, we need to get this thing going. So, hey, it's 2025 and we're coming in, and here it is. Let's go. Let's go. Let me stop sharing for 1 minute. There's the video. The button disappeared. And now we're going to bring it back. Now I know where the button is. This is what happens, everybody, when you have too many windows open.
I love this song. It's the greatest dance of all time, and anyone can do it. It's fantastic. Just follow my lead and shake it side to side. We have the greatest dance in history. And if I can groove, then you can groove.
My greatest goal is to one day do the Trump shimmy on Mars.
Do the Trump shimmy. America knows how to get down. That's why I'm back. Sing it, girls. I love cheap gas, and I love to shake it for America.
I was really sad for a while, but even I am now doing the Trump shimmy. It's the best thing ever.
Do the Trump shimmy.
That's right.
The moves are hot.
So we got our own dance, everybody. We have our own dance. And in 2025, we're going to use the force. This is Crypto Kid here for you guys. It's all about money and muscle. And it's no better way to get this, I was going to say school year, but let's get this financial year started. We have 19 days. There's my wife. She's always around when I'm recording. And you know, it's like, you know, people in the background of a picture and stuff like that. You always have them. All right. So, man, we're just going to pull up. This is a great interview by Anthony Pompliano, of a professional consultant, and so you don't need to take the Crypto Kid's word. I know you think I'm biased and everything, and I am, but in this case, this is somebody who who's an expert. And let's pull his analysis up, and then I'm going to pause it at certain points, and we will break it down and analyze what's going on here. So, okay, and boom. So what I need to do is I need to switch to, and this is a new feature, everybody. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, and now we're going to start this up and let you hear it. Oh. Okay, and then
President-elect Trump setting his sights on acquiring not just one, but multiple strategic locations, such as Greenland and the Panama Canal. Here with us now, Anthony Pompliano, Professional Capital Management founder and CEO. And you say he should also be looking at buying as much Bitcoin as possible. Why?
Well, if you think about what he's trying to do here, right, is he's basically looking at strategic reasons to acquire physical property in order to advance the American ideals, ethos, and strategies. Well, what about the digital world? We live in a digital world. And so if you're going to go after the Panama Canal, there's obviously strategic reasons to do that. Greenland as well. Owning Bitcoin is digital real estate. There's only 21 million that will ever exist. We know other countries are mining, buying, holding Bitcoin. And so are we going to let these other countries be the leader, or are we going to be the leader? And I think that's really the decision they have to make.
What do you say to people who say it has had a massive run? It's, mentally, it's difficult to kind of get on board at these levels when we know where it's been. And we've also seen that volatility. Somebody very smart told me, well, take 2% and just money that, you're willing to risk and put it in. I still find that difficult to do.
If you go back to the 1980s or 1990s, buying the S&P 500 was real scary, but you were a genius if you did it in hindsight. And so same thing here with Bitcoin is you can look backwards and see how high it rose. But if you look forward and say, well, if this continues, which we have every reason to believe it will, buying today is the second best time to buy because the first best time was yesterday. And if we keep waiting, it's only going to get worse and worse. And so I think
I hear you. It's hard to pull the trigger.
Of course. And that's true of all financial assets, right? I mean, think of a real estate market. If people will go and they'll say, oh, my God, I could have bought 5 years ago. Now it's at this price. I just can't wrap my head around that. Well, if you wait 5 more years, the dollar is going to continue to be devalued. And so usually if you decide, hey, I want to own something, go ahead and buy it.
Anthony, crypto investors and crypto companies are obviously very excited about a Trump presidency. We now know that Coinbase, Kraken, Ripple, and MoonPay have all donated money to the Trump-Vance inauguration. What does the Trump-Vance time in office over the next 4 years, what has that done to the trajectory of where Bitcoin could go?
Well, I think about 50% of the value they bring to the table has already been captured because really it was just awakening America to this idea that technology is good, business is good, free markets are good, capitalism is good. Bitcoin is the most free market asset that we have. And so out of nowhere, we went from a world where I think a lot of people were saying, hey, is the future actually brighter than the past? To now they're saying, oh, wait a second, we are going to put business-oriented people into the White House and into the administration. Let's go, right? And so you hear things like it's morning in America, people saying it's time to build, et cetera. Now, what I do think is interesting about these businesses is it's actually showing not that crypto is different, it's that crypto companies are the same as non-crypto companies. If you look at Amazon and Facebook and many others, they're also donating $1 million to this inauguration fund. And so it used to be a world where there was kind of like the adults in the room and then the crypto little kids were playing kind of in the corner. But now all of a sudden you're realizing that these crypto companies are showing up and they're saying, look, we are no different than these big multi-billion dollar, $100 billion companies. We also are going to donate. We have a seat at the table. And so it's really crypto growing up more than it is these other people.
So let's pause that here for some analysis here. So this is Anthony Pompliano, Professional Capital Management. He's the founder and CEO, and he's a big name out there. I mean, he's always talking on, whether it's with Jim Cramer, Fox Business News. I believe I've seen him on just Fox in general, as well as I want to say Forbes online. So I've seen this man speak a lot. I trust him. He's the CEO and founder of Professional Capital Management, and he's breaking down the future of finance, which is crypto, and how crypto and Bitcoin and everything fits into this new scheme. So the country now recognizes we have business-minded people that have been elected to go into the White House. And now it's not just politicians who have mastered legalese, but didn't take one business course, didn't take one economics course. And the notion of Washington, D.C. to be a country club where the only way you can get in is to have a law degree is a fallacy that was created by Congress, because these people make decisions not on policy, being a politician. They also make decisions on the economy, finance, on the treasury, on the debt ceiling. That's one of the problems that Donald Trump had with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is he refused to put, when he, on his last deal negotiation with the Bidens, he refused to put a debt ceiling there, which is why we're getting out of control. But the whole notion of talking about a debt ceiling without agreeing to balancing the budget. You have to first agree to balancing the budget. Once you agree to balancing the budget, that indirectly puts a cap on spending, which is a ceiling on spending. And that's something that's just not being discussed. And it's going to make it difficult for Donald Trump to, Donald Trump now needs to go back to the 80s and talk about balancing the budget. Like Donald Trump needs to tell Congress and tell House Speaker Mike Johnson that he needs to balance the budget. And the reality is that I don't like Donald Trump. Of course, I love Donald Trump. I don't like Mike Johnson. I don't trust Mike Johnson. But I believe that Donald Trump's decision to go with that's why I don't like streaming to I don't like streaming to Instagram because it just, you have to go back during your live recording and remember to get it going. Okay. So getting back to this, I believe that I don't care for Mike Johnson. I don't trust him. I'm not happy with his negotiation, especially this $2.5 billion to Ukraine. I'm not happy about that. But I believe Donald Trump is looking at the people that are currently around and he's thinking, who can I trust? So Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, if he gets her in, but now the Senator Mike Ross from Florida is the person I believe that should be the House Speaker. But now it's still, they need to have a vote. And we'll see if Mike Johnson has enough. The only way that Mike Johnson is going to have enough votes is the same way that he got elected last time. He has to have some Democratic votes. So that will be interesting. And I think Donald Trump is wise to let this whole scheme play out and see if Mike Johnson can pull it through. Because there's other people that are waiting. And if Mike Johnson can't do it, then Mike Ross is definitely good to go. I believe Senator Ross, newly elected Senator Ross, is going to pull through. And so we'll see. So let's get back to Anthony Pompliano and Fox Business News. Let's go back to that. And what just happened? Okay, there we go. All right, we're back.
Has to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve or else they turn on him.
I do think that that is a potential risk. And so, look, if you look at the administration, Trump owns Bitcoin and crypto. J.D. Vance owns Bitcoin, I believe. There's a lot of people in the administration. You just go through all the different roles that they've appointed people. And so these are Bitcoiners to a degree, or crypto holders that are going into the office. They're likely to go ahead and buy.
Well, they're going to get criticized for that.
They may get criticized for it. But also, if you look at it right now, what is the United States doing? We're buying bonds. We're holding other assets. We have a president that's currently in office, and also politicians who are literally day trading assets.
Yep.
And so it's no different, right? I think the big story of 2025 is going to be that crypto has now grown up and is part of the traditional financial system. And there's pros and cons to that. But now we have a seat at the table. You saw that in the political arena in terms of donations and influence. But you also now are going to see it in the financial arena. And that is going to be a huge tailwind, I think, for Bitcoin and crypto in 2025.
Does that include all crypto, or are we talking more Bitcoin when we talk about crypto?
I think that Bitcoin is the king. It will remain the king. I think that most of the capital flows from the traditional world are going into Bitcoin. There are going to be other assets that enter into the market. You obviously see the ETH ETF got approved. You will probably see others that get approved as well. But the argument for anything other than Bitcoin is a very different one. That is a technology argument. Yes. It's no different than trying to pick between Amazon and Google and Facebook. The Bitcoin argument is much more akin to, do I want to protect my purchasing power? It's digital gold. And so that argument to me is much more reasonable for the government to say, hey, we're going to go and we're going to put this in our reserves. I don't think that the United States wants to get in the game of trying to pick tech winners or losers based on, the allocation of capital.
Do you have a one-year target for us on Bitcoin with and without the Bitcoin reserve?
With or without, we're going higher. I don't necessarily have a price, but I do think that if we go ahead and buy Bitcoin, what's interesting is we will not be the first country to do this. There's a lot of other countries who have already bought, they're mining, they're holding Bitcoin. What I do think is important, though, is America is the greatest capital market in the world. And so if America does it, it pretty much reduces all of the career risk, all of the critiques for all these other countries. And so Russia recently came out and they said, hey, we're mining Bitcoin. We're starting to use it in transactions. People are like, oh, that's Russia. We kind of don't like them. And so they're kind of in the corner. People look at El Salvador and they're like, oh, that's El Salvador. I couldn't point it out on a map.
But if they're doing it, it makes more of a case if your enemies are doing it that you should be.
Well, look, the United States took a pretty drastic action in terms of the sanctions that they went after individuals, country, and also took some of the Russian assets and said, hey, we're going to give it to the Ukrainian people. When that happened, Bitcoiners came out and they said, you are actually going to further accelerate the demise of the U.S. dollar because now you have introduced this sanctions risk. There was a paper that came out of the Harvard Economics Department where they talked about, will countries now start to buy Bitcoin, not for price, not for the sovereignty, but actually as a sanctions hedge?
Russia.
And so Russia is actually doing that. Yes. Do you think they're the only one?
No.
I wouldn't bet on it.
I will say someone on this program on the network said the first 100K on Bitcoin was the easiest and it could easily get to 200K by next year. I'm like, it took us this long to get to 100K and you think 200K in the next year?
Some people are saying 250.
I heard 500.
Unbelievable.
Well, if you guys just keep it, we'll just wait a couple minutes. You guys will be at a couple million here.
Anthony Pompliano, love having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so we're done with that. Okay, and now we're back, everybody. So let's break this down. As Anthony Pompliano said, is that what's interesting here is that Russia is just beginning policy to allow Russian citizens to hold Bitcoin and then as an asset. But and then the Russian government just came out and said that they're mining for Bitcoin. Now, this is interesting because 2 weeks ago, Vladimir Putin came out and said, who can stop Bitcoin? So he acknowledges that Bitcoin is not going away, that Bitcoin is the future. And he's leading the United States to believe that Russia is anti-Bitcoin. And then the Russian government turns around and says, hey, we're mining for Bitcoin. So the Russian government is already in the Bitcoin mining game. The United States needs to catch up. So this addresses one of the campaign pledges that Donald J. Trump made, that all future Bitcoin will be mined in the United States. That's not possible. Okay, that is an overstep. That is a true, I love Donald Trump, but that is a true campaign pledge, like if I've ever heard one. Because the reality is that if the United States were to mine all future Bitcoin, then the United States would effectively have an indirect monopoly over Bitcoin in obtaining the block reward, the block prize. Okay. And that is not what Bitcoin is about. Bitcoin is anti-monopoly. So the only reason why the Chinese government is the leader in mining for Bitcoin is because the U.S. government under the Biden administration has banned and attacked and indicted anybody mining for Bitcoin and many people holding large amounts of Bitcoin. So that indirectly gave China the advantage. I think when Donald Trump gets down to it, it's going to, I think that Massa of SoftBank, the CEO of SoftBank, which is the world's largest investor in technology in the world, I believe that he pledged $100 billion in investments. I believe 30 billion is going to be divided between the states of Pennsylvania and Michigan for the purposes of creating steel and then shipping it to Michigan for the automobile industry. But I believe at least another 30 billion is going to be for building infrastructure in the United States to mine for Bitcoin, because it is a drain and a strain on the electric grid. So you're going to have to build the infrastructure. And I believe I think Arizona is going to hands down get it. And I'm not going to reveal the reasons why, because it'll cut me out of the game. So the future is crypto. Anthony Pompliano said Bitcoin is king and Bitcoin will continue to be king. And I'm in agreement with that. So this is Daniel Plummer, the Crypto Kid, signing out here in 2025. This is January 1st, New Year's Day, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And remember, the future is crypto. Let's look forward to January 20th, the inauguration of Donald Trump. And remember, I said between January 20th and January 22nd, 2025, Bitcoin will hit 150,000 US dollars. And remember, the future is crypto.